challenger solo queue, and his individual plays, as we've seen, have been very, very unique. He even took Hextech Flash in one of their playoff games and was able to pull off, on Jace by the way, and was able to pull off some interesting escapes. He even draws a Jace ban right out of the gate here from Flash Wolves. So I guess that one kind of lands home.
Well, that's it. It's just showing where the threat is on the PVB roster. Now, of course, Aatrox is one of his most played 5 games, 5 wins for the side of Zeros, and it is still available, as is Akali, as is Urgot, as is Xayah, and we've seen 2 first-pick Xayahs in both of the previous games.
So I was able to tell you the kind of meme joke about the Hextech Flash, but I didn't tell you the hard stats. He has 33 solo kills in the summer split, all by himself, and he had, what is his highest damage per minute game, was 1,388 damage per minute Aatrox game. Absolutely insane, individual play. Now, some of the games, if you watch them, I didn't like a lot of the teleport usage choices and some of the lane assignments, but a lot of that can be contributed to the quick pace of the game, and we'll see if this one on the world stage versus a team like Flash Wolves will mirror that, because as I said on the analyst test, Flash Wolves even quicker.
Expectation setting. Let's see whether or not Zeros can do that or not. Of course, we touched on that Aatrox. It is currently being hovered, undefeated in the summer split for now, but there's a lot of power picks up and available. We've touched on them already, and it's going to be a pivot to Urgot. Still got the ability to flex that, of course. I always have to say that in the current meta, where these flex picks really gain a huge amount of value pending the rest of the draft.
Yeah, I definitely do agree. I mean, as much as Aatrox, I wanted to see that there locked in immediately for him, see if he can top those damage numbers. Urgot, I feel like, is more versatile, and more teams have been looking to first pick that as far as an option when given both of them.
Yeah.
On the other side of it, though, when you're giving away these power picks, Kai'Sa is the late game carry that everyone relies on, and it's locked up already, in addition to some playmaking for Sword Art.
It is an undefeated bottom lane. 3-0 on Kai'Sa, 4-0 on Alistar in the summer split, and Sword Art on a playmaking, forward, tanky engage. That is what I like to see. That is a champion that suits his playstyle and his team.
In all of his years at Worlds, I feel like I always see him at least one time on an Alistar pick for Sword Art. This is one of the guys that creates huge plays for the team, and currently in the state of the game, Alistar is one of the strongest supports as far as the survivability afforded to you by your ultimate, plus the possibility of your headbutt pulve combination. So I think that Flash Wolves are very happy with that trade in giving over the Urgot and grabbing 2 of these power picks.
And of course, it leans into the Flash Wolves style. You know, they focus the bottom lane. They really want to get Betty ahead. Betty and Sword Art are the tip of the spear, so to speak, when it comes to Flash Wolves play style. And there's the Tahm Kench now locked in. We've seen that a fair amount during play-ins, banned already today. And for Flash Wolves, they're going to decide whether they're going to respond. So I'm not too surprised by the draft thus far, but I really want to see what solo lanes Flash Wolves are going to be locking in, and exactly what direction the team comps will round up. What would you expect to see as the Scion is now confirmed?
Well, whenever you see the Kai'Sa, then you kind of expect this most standard of team comp setups, right? Because you have a Kai'Sa, so you want tanky members with crowd control in that lineup. Those are both able to peel for her as well as set up her plasma stacks and allow her mobility in teamfights. So that's why Hanabi, he's on tank duty.
So what jungler does Muujin then think about? Because Nocturne is still up and available. You can see Olaf is already banned away. The reason I say Nocturne, 9-0 on that champion. So,
yeah.
But does it fit this comp? Probably not so much.
I would say, there's a possibility because you can have double divers, but I would rather see something like a Gragas from them, right? Because Gragas is really good with Kai'Sa. You can split up the team fight, allow Kai'Sa to Killer Instinct, pick one of those members off that will also be stacked up by Plasma, from the initiation. And a jungler like that, as we've already seen, have been one of the high tier sort of tank ones floating around. We can see already, though, some of the other options have been taken off the table as more of those early dueling junglers being picked off.
I think that's the second or third Lee Sin ban that we have seen today. Second to confirm it. I'm very excited to see Lee Sin back, potentially, here in the world's meta. Disappeared for a little while. And with Camille taken off the table as well, that is a potential jungler. One last ban from PVB before Flash Wolves have to reveal which direction they want to take this team comp now that they're down to phase 2 picks.
Yeah, I mean, we are actually getting really far down the line of junglers here. They don't follow it up with another one, going for the Aurelia instead. worried about Maple. That's definitely a valid worry because Maple is a world-class player, has been for a long time. You mentioned that
How good is Talia right now? How good is Talia right now? Because, you know, she has fallen a little bit off.
Right this exact moment is a flex pick. So right this exact moment is a little bit extra as far as the value because generally the red side in the second form of the pick phase here, you're going to have to give away, you know, one of your picks. But the Talia could go to either one. Muujin can play it, although it's not the jungler that I've seen him play a lot of. I don't believe he had a game on it in summer. It's still very much viable for him. I know he has at least put time in and played the champion. But I would kind of see, you know, Maple as far as mid lane, pushing, shoving. It's still a possibility there.
And we'll find out whether or not Flash Wolves want to take it. They know the Graves is coming in, so a little bit more information for Flash Wolves to consider. And I quite like this composition with Urgot, Tahm Kench, Graves, even Varus. They really want to be in the thick of things, this death ball, as it were, trying to run you down. And if Null can get a decent stun with that Scatter the Weak, there's some options to work with. It gives us the PVB team composition. And for Flash Wolves, Talia into Syndra? Or do they pick something else for Maple? The question is most likely, we'll find out now.
Yeah, with that flex pick, they're able to get counter here, and it looks like he is going to be able to take the Aatrox. Now, as they're swapping them around, you can put it up to the mid. We've seen mid lane Scions back in the day of the Banner of Command.
Yep. Where do you want it? Where would you prefer to see the matchup? Into the Urgot or the Syndra? For
as we talked about before, I want to see Hanabi on a damage dealing champion, so Aatrox would go top lane for me, and I think they might keep it at the setup that they have right now. But it's been a while since I've seen a mid lane Scion, since you know, Banner of Command got
nerfed, thank goodness.
The poop.
Yes, I'm quite happy that meta moved away. But what I also really like is we're seeing the Graves, we're seeing the Talia for the first time today. What direction does this PVB team composition want to go? I think the Flash Wolves is fairly simple, but with Urgot and Graves and you know, Varus TK, it's quite different to the other flavor of games you've seen.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, Flash Wolves is a lot more brute force, so there should be some more finesse on the PVB side. So that's why I'm super excited to see about the setup here, because you know, we talk so much about their top lane, but he's on Urgot, and Urgot is not, you know, the quickest of champions, or, you know, have a lot of mobility up there from the side lane. So are we actually going to see focus up there, or, you know, will we get into the stages of the game where you utilize Tahm Kench, Abyssal Voyage, you're trying to move around the map, get these picks, they have long range Syndra stun, where we've seen Syndra over and over and over all day today, basically every single game, looking for those long-range picks into explosive damage with the ultimate.
Well, we'll find out whether or not Null can actually put that together. I definitely want to keep my eyes on this Fengvu Buffalo squad. They, you know, had a fantastic run in the VCS. Vietnamese representatives, #1 seed here, direct into the group stage. And you know, it's the first time in competitive League of Legends history that we've had this league break away from the group, you know, from the GPL, and become its own representatives and send the team direct to the group stage. So a lot of expectation and honestly pressure on the shoulders of this Vietnamese squad, especially when they're following the Gigabyte Marines, who won a lot of fanfare for their creativity in-game, their decision-making. I want to see if PVB's got an element of that or not. Regardless of that fact, once again, no early game shenanigans, very defensive starts. We've seen that all day long. I want to see whether or not teams can start figuring out early game trends and put together some invades or some sort of plays. But where should our attention be, Kobe? Which lane would either of these teams, you know, start to focus to look for an opportunity or an early lead?
Well, honestly, I think my attention is going to be around the mid lane Scion, because it's been a while since we've seen it. Scion's goal, though, is to build some early magic resist against this Syndra, like, you know, maybe an Abyssal Mask or something as far as one of those starting items. The aura was shrunk down a little bit, so it does favor more melee users, and he can get in there and still get a lot of value, applying a damage boost to his jungler for Muujin. So that might be a good combination if you do have that, because Scion also brings a lot of that front line utility into the field. You can set him up. But again, whenever you're on a team with a Kai'Sa, or even against a team with a Kai'Sa, a lot of the focus is around, can you get your Kai'Sa fed or deny the enemy Kai'Sa some early on? And Varus is one of those picks as far as a marksman in the bottom lane. Has a very good lane phase into Kai'Sa. You can get a lot of harassment down and push up. So we'll see if the dual lane here from Vicoro and can actually put a stop to Betty, because Betty was so good on the MSI stage in international competition. Really proved himself as one of the elite carries.
Yeah, and of course, Flash Wolves play around him fairly frequently. Mugen has spent a sizable amount of time around Betty and Sword Art, and we'll see whether or not they can build some sort of advantages. After game 1, where Score was able to get both Scuttle Crabs, I can't stop looking at both Scuttle Crabs, and it looks like Mugen
You've become a jungler, Trevor.
I am learning. Kobe, you have
all season
taken me to the dark side.
I've been looking at Scuttle Crabs.
My jungle performance in solo queue is terrible. I can't do it. But it's going to be up to Mugen to use this Talia to his best. And taking a look at some of the summoner spells, it is spellbook for Zeros and that Urgot up top. And this is going to be having some fun from the jungle. He's going to be on his blue buff for now. And Graves is a pick that we've seen a little bit in and out of play over the last few months. But it suits a play style from a league that is very kill heavy, that is very active. And it's going to be up to Meliadus, I don't know how to say that, my apologies, to make that one work. Mugen with the first invade. Do you like this move when you're on a Tilia?
Meliadus. I do like going for Scuttle bottom because he wants to be in place for a bottom lane play, as we're seeing right now.
Well, very nicely done there by both Sword Art and Palette. Sword Art finds the engage, gets the knockup, but the Devour in the laning phase, it's on a gigantic cooldown, 20-ish seconds just as some additional poke comes down. And the big Horo can't step forward, there's an option. Take a look at that, that's the flash engage into the pulverize!
Oh.
Beautiful, beautiful from Flash.
Oh, that was just prime Sword Art right there. Goes in for the setup. The reason he uses everything to guarantee that knockup, even under a turret shot, which might deter a lot of weaker-willed supports, is because if you have any sort of CC setup for Talia, it will guarantee the W. And he does it how you have to get both of them. If you do not get the Tahm Kench there, his Devour, see, that's why it's so exciting. You have to do that perfectly. If Devour has not been used and the Tahm Kench position's far enough away, then you don't get your CC chain. The whole play falls apart if you don't chain your Pulverize into your Seismic Shove from the Talia. And that was very good coordination from Mugen with Sword Art to be able to pull that off. And he's incredibly excited about his first big play on World's 2018 group stage. I
love seeing that. I absolutely love seeing that celebration. The emotional investment on the side of the players. Flash Wolves, they're off to a good start. We caught a quick glimpse there of Anabi. He's catching a wave, but he's down around 11 CS. We'll clear this one out. He's a little bit down on this Aatrox, continuing to scale up and look for some opportunities to fight as Zeros will be teleporting back in. This is one of those matchups that really could have a gigantic influence in the later stages of the game, because we know that Zeros and this Urgot is one of the primary carries for this Vietnamese squad.
And especially since I do expect Sion, Maple here to be building some sort of magic resist, the Urgot later on might be very important in getting that kill. Finishing off the execution on one of those tanks, burning through some of the armor, shredding what little he has. Oh, Sword Art there with a little bit of a...
I love hearing the crowd laughing in the background. It feels so bad. But it's the Hex Splash. You can just rinse and repeat, try that again later.
I was trying to put that crowd reaction into a single word, but I think it lives best as that sort of groan from the crowd there. But
I do have an inspirational line that I can give you. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
I feel
so he went for the shot, right?
I feel like I've heard that one before, but
it's an oldie.
I'll take that one, quick shot. Remember.
Well, let's find out what Sword Art and Betty can do. They're getting closer to this level 6 now for Betty. And Sword Art is just putting on a show.
That's how you style on them. Just in lane, full view. You do that a couple times, and they start to second guess. Is his jungler right behind him? So I like Sword Art. He's kind of laying the groundwork and playing the mental game.
I like that as well, because it could set up a potential bait play for later. As Zeros has invaded the Flash Wolf jungle, he's got a ward down on the red buff. I'm seeing a number of red pings from the Flash Wolf side, so I can only assume that they've called this, they've noticed it, and Mugen will be aware that he's under full vision of the opponents.
Yeah, I really do like that you're highlighting this, though, and we should reiterate each game. This is what you want to see from your high-tier top laners, is getting the lane pushed in and getting that advantage, but then using those few seconds that you have to get your deep ward on the jungle camp. Control ward was used there by Mugen, though. You can see on his own red. He makes sure that he has clear vision in his own jungle, and he's even pathing very defensively back behind secondary turrets and everything through the jungle, just in case there is a fallout invade here.
Oh, so much damage from that Disdain. And the Shocker knees out. The fear beyond death. Not going to find it as he's going to use Whirlwinder to escape. He's under a lot of pressure, down nearly 20 CS in this top lane. Xerath already invaded to get some additional vision inside the Flash Wolf jungle. You can see that there was a control ward a moment ago. I believe it was just timed out. And for the number one, the lead player on Fongu Buffalo, he's off to a great start as this game is dead even at 8 minutes.
We've talked this guy up for a reason. He's a Vietnamese all-star, and he's able to earn his own advantages up there. Meanwhile, his jungler Graves farming away to Dark Harvest Graves. We've seen this in several situations where the team feels like they're going to get a lot of value out of team fights. So something a lot of people don't know about Dark Harvest, you can also pick up souls off of your teammates that die within team fights. That's really good in getting off damage as a ranged champion. It makes it very easy for him to get one, use it very quickly, go pick up your next one. And Graves has a lot of mobility with his dash, so easily resettable, but bot lane might be some action.
Oh, Big Koro's in big trouble. There we go. Insta give down. Sword Art used the Hex Flash to get over the wall.
Oh, look at that evil grin on his face, too. He's like, ha ha ha, gotcha, with the walk back to lane. That feels so good to be able to pick him off, and that is going to give a huge recall here. This cannon minion wave, not going to allow him to touch it. And the Tahm Kench is not even level 6, so he can't even go back and Abyssal Voyage him closer to these minions. He just has to let them go to waste.
It's just, again, we're seeing Flash Wolves playing to a very similar style that we've come to expect out of them from the LMS. Mugen spending some time around Betty and Sword Art, getting Betty ahead. They're picking on Big Koro with some very good synergy between Sword Art and Mugen. And it means Flash Wolves have got the kill lead for now, but it hasn't equated into a gold lead. But it will allow them to secure the Infernal Drake. So that is a good advantage here for Flash Wolves as a whole.
Yeah, that play bringing up memories for me of Sword Art in 2016, entering the enemy jungle, getting behind enemy lines, coming up with these big surprise Alistar plays. That time around, brought some friends, so there was actually no sort of answer or reaction, but they do get the recall off. Infernal Drake also going to be some extra late gaming turrets for Flash Wolves if the Kai'Sa wasn't enough already.
Yeah, exactly, right? But it's just, it's controlled and it's clean. And we're 10 minutes in, and I want to see what Fongu Buffalo do. You touched on the Dark Harvest for Meliadus, who's now on screen, and see if their first gank here can pay off. Still not stepped up to the bush because the minion wave is pushing forward, and Mugen is 1.5 miles away, so gonna need some sort of CC to come down from pallets, and it's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I think that Graves play only works if Sword Art does go aggressive while they're waiting for it. And since Sword Art has been pretty liberal with his Hex Flash and pulling off combos, you can see why PVB are setting this play up. They're kind of expecting it to come through, and what you want to watch for is Tahm Kench stacking up his passive stack on Alistar, trying to eat him.
All right, there's the headbutt and the pulverize, but it bought so much time. Mugen has been able to arrive in the bottom lane. Sword Art gets away with his life, and it's Mugen that picks up the kill. Simply too long to set up the counter attack.
They thought they were laying the trap, but with a jungler like Talia, ultimate coming through, Mugen cuts off the trap as they set it. And Maple, even roaming down there on the sign, does use his ultimate, so maybe that's a possibility for something on the top side. Xerath does know the jungler as well as the mid laner were both seen down on the bottom side, and they're trying to make up for it on the opposite top side here. But, you know, Hanabi should know, I got to play weak side right now. I have to give up CS, I have to give up experience.
He's given up a fair amount, down 20 CS, but this was, of course, Mugen coming in from the side.
Yeah, he was coming in for a gank at the exact time when PVB were looking for the little bit of a bait here. So really nice wall from Mugen. Just cuts them off, allows Sword Art even out of the Devour to survive with his ultimate on, and it is Flash Wolves now 3-0 lead.
Such a good start for Flash Wolves, and I want to put a few numbers to the VCS, the Vietnam League. We talked about how it's a pretty aggressive league. We talked about their playstyle. Their combined kills per minute averages 1 kill a minute. Their kills at 15 is around 10. This game currently has 3 at 12 minutes. So as a league, you can see the game time as well below 30 minutes. It is very aggressive. It is very in your face, and maybe that's where the Dark Harvest on Graves can come from as well. You mentioned the team fight heavy focus, Kobe. But for PVB, I want them to get to that bloodthirsty style and pick some team fights so they can use some of these bruises to even out the gold lead. As you can see, Big Coro and Pellet, they just shoved away from this bottom lane again.
Bottom lane is an insanely big problem for the Fangbu Buffalo right now. Betty and Sword Art are dominating with the assistance of Mujin coming in here on this Talia, grabbing those 3 kills. They got them so much time as far as the extra minion waves, tower damage, and map territory they now have to work with. This is a Kai'Sa who has ended lane phase without any completed items even. They completely destroyed the turret themselves already. Luckily for them though, on the top side, things going a bit better.
Yes, absolutely, and it's going to be up to Zeros and Meliadus to use this Rift Herald as well as the tower they've just secured, because this is the strong side. You know, this Urgot is plus 30. He's going to be teleporting in, looking for Maple. Flash Wolves will be able to respond though, and this will be the first skirmish to team fight. There is the Devour, spits out Zeros, and the Rift Herald will be secured here by Fangbu Buffalo. That's a beautiful Stats of the Week stun. Mujin is running for his life, but he stays alive a few seconds longer. Flash away, and the Fear Beyond Death will not find a target. Zeros looks for the disdain into Maple and will not be able to find a target. And PVB, they're in the driver's seat. They got a couple minions to work with, and they're deciding which objective to work for.
Maple blocking all of the flash ults there to save Mujin's life on the Scion. He just stands in front. He pops the Grave ultimate early, so the explosion damage does not catch him. He also doesn't allow the Urgot to flash in there and finish him off. Mujin does walk away afterwards. A lot of flashes blown in that little skirmish. And Flash Wolves kind of unscathed in the bit of chase. They did get the Rift Herald though for Fangbu Buffalo, so maybe they can get some sort of play on the side of the map. Use that to get some objectives. Will the recall finish?
How much trouble? I don't know. Vision, no, he cancelled it. Mujin and Sword Art with the help of Betty now going to try to run him down. He's only taken the first chunk of damage now, but instantly blown up.
Oh, the hero is down.
Would it have finished? It was like milliseconds.
No. It would not.
Well, unfortunately, the man at point for PVB goes down. That's the 4th kill that Flash Wolves have secured. And Mujin, 4-0-0. He's going to be very happy on this Talia.
Yeah, Talia is going to be basically another mid-lane, full-powered mage for the Flash Wolves right now. He's got so much extra damage. As soon as you complete Runic Echoes just as a jungle item, it's a lot of burst because it gives you that AD ability power on completion. Sword Art, meanwhile, is looking for a Hex Flash over the Raptor wall.
I have to hold my breath every time he's sort of in range.
Yeah.
You actually don't know if he's going to go for it, especially when you combine that with the Scion under tower.
They don't need to take the risk. You know, there was 3 recalls pulled off for PVB, so they knew that eventually people were going to be coming down the mid lane. As soon as you get a recall, you got about 25 seconds before they're in danger range. It's another Infernal Drake, though. Let's see what goes down. This one's going to attract some attention. PVB starting it up already.
All right, so first items have been picked up by most of Flash Wolves. Righteous Glory available for Maple if he can find an opportunity, but Meliadus is inside on the Infernal Drake. Sword Art is fighting with Zeros as the Weaver's Wall is now gone down. All right, Infernal Drake picked up by PVB. Flash Wolves a little late to the party, but Hanabi teleported in. Now they've turned their attention to the Urgot. Betty comes in with that killer instinct, still not able to find the man. Devour manages to save Zeros' life, and PVB retreat with the dragon and their lives.
That's pretty good for PVB, be able to even up the Infernal count and escape. They are not at a huge gold deficit at the moment. If they could this is going to be dangerous.
Right.
Big Coro has no friends around. Sword Art and Mujin are looking to dive.
Just engage with the ulti, Maple.
But he knows. Big Coro has a feeling. He's got flash.
Big Coro's got the flash available, got Chain of Corruption as well. Needs a lot more support though. Meliadus and Raul are making their way through the mid lane. Sword Art and Mujin still sitting on top of that control ward. The mid tower is the focus. The tongue lashing catches onto Maple. Here comes Betty. I mean, boom. Ah! That's a very good quick draw. instantly away. Got enough time to react to that one. Not quite at iBoy level.
Yeah, I mean, if you see that on the ground, really nice reaction there from Melio Diaz. Maybe you make the call to wait till he actually face checks for a pulverize.
Yeah.
However, you don't know if the Graves is going to walk up, place a ward or something like that. Maybe that's why he went for it. Regardless, nice reactions there on land, able to pull it off, dashes away. No harm, no foul, and that means PVB do have the possibility of getting right back into this game. If they get a pick and they activate Rift Trail to take down the tower, you know, that would put them right back in striking distance here. Rift Trail is going down mid lane. Looks like they want to make the play mid.
Yeah, it looked like it was just about to time out, if I was looking at that correctly. And Mongo Buffalo down around 1,500 gold at this time, down 4 kills to 0. And with the help of Rift Trail in the mid lane, they're trying to get some chip damage. I'm looking at the minimap. Flash Wolves seem to be setting up a flank. They've got a little bit of a surround coming on as Swordart was once again going fishing through that chicken camp, trying to find an opportunity over the wall.
And this is something that you should take into account. Whenever, as PvP, you know that there have been multiple members of the enemy team waiting for these plays in your red quadrant of the jungle, you have to assume they have also left behind a bunch of wards. So when you go into that area of the map afterwards, you have to account that you're probably in enemy vision. You need to play around that knowledge.
Let's see if they can. I mean, taking a look at trinkets, I'm taking a look at vision. There's some decent defensive vision for Fongwu Buffalo, but it's not the greatest spread or coverage. And Flash Wolves have just felt in absolute control of this game. Felt like they're one step ahead of Vietnamese representatives, and they've had very good successful ganks thanks to Mugen. He's still 4-0 untouched. But they haven't broken open more than one tower, so it just felt like an extended laning phase with Flash Wolves in the lead.
Yeah, if we want to look at it from PvP's point of view to try and come up with things for them to do in this game to make up that difference, luckily for them, the only real attack damage threats, since Kaisa is going an AP build here, is the Aatrox, Hanabi, who had the rougher laning phase. You know, was shoved off a lot, doesn't have that much damage to offer. So maybe they focus more of their resistances into magic resist to try and get a little bit of extra value and help them survive there. And try and squeeze that extra little bit out for the possible team fight, because they still definitely have the possibilities to pull it off. But again, there's a lot of brute force engage available to the Flash Wolves, where Sion, Alistar, Kaisa, you know, all have very quick movements that they're able to force over and over. Maple actually looking for one now as he Righteous Glory.
All right, going to be chasing onto Big Koro. Palace going to be able to get the Devour. Decimating Smash is flashed away from. The Weaver's Wall is not ridden. So summon a Flash blown for the support of Fongwu Buffalo, but you can just see Flash Wolves really want to pick to then push the game further. It's the playstyle they've had for the full 20 minutes of this game. Has been largely led by Sword Art, and now Maple is joining the fray with that Righteous Glory, with that ultimate as well, and utilizing the tools we talked about, Kobe. How do PvP start team fights? I mean, they really have to catch someone out of position, maybe? I mean, there's not like a traditional engage champion.
Yeah, so if they might actually just want to split up the map a little bit to use the Abyssal Voyage. But other than that, they have to stay at long range with a Syndra long range stun or a Varus ultimate to kind of start it off with an advantage as far as maybe chunking someone out significantly, if not outright getting a kill.
It's going to be very, very difficult. Of course, the re-engage power is very good. I like the Urgot Graves Syndra if somebody jumps into them. And just hearing that, we will be restarting one of the players on stage clients. I believe you may have heard that disconnected sound effect. Once we get the players back in game, we can continue. But for the time being, there we go. For the time being, it's just this game has gone a little bit as expected. Flash Wolves, they didn't fall prey to any shenanigans. They haven't given up any kills. And the slower pace, maybe not what PvP was expecting.
Plus, kind of the areas of the map that we were looking at for strengths have been true to name for both these teams. You know, top lane, yes, Zeros is able to get his own lead on the Urgot Aatrox matchup. However, bottom lane focus is kind of always the name of the game for Flash Wolves, and there's a reason for that, and a reason that many of the teams here at Worlds do focus a lot on. Bot lane, it's much easier to carry later in the game from a successful bot lane focus early on, because you have a very strong marksman, and you also have a very strong support to pull off the engages for your 5-on-5 team fights, which is kind of the style that you want to go at. Whereas if you're the top laner and you've had a successful early game, it's much more difficult to carry your team and make that big play as a top laner, and especially in Urgot. As we said before, it's not a super mobile champion. It does have its strengths, but isn't really the kind of 1v9 champion or the super strong split push champion because you've got to scuttle around on those 8 legs.
So you have to play to Urgot's play style to use that advantage.
Uh-oh.
Let's find out if they can. Sword Art not going to find it this time round. Not going to be able to find the Pulverize. Now PVB looking to turn this one back. Sword Art is going to be in a little bit of trouble, caught by the disdain.
Execute range.
The ultimate is now ticking away, and Zeros manages to get Fear Beyond Death. I think he gobbled them up while inside Ballad. That's the first kill for Bongo Buffalo.
Yeah, you can tell he wanted that one. He's flashing on this Alistar with the ultimate up. He's like, you're not getting away from me. I am going to carry this game. Yes, I'm an Urgot. And he's flashing in, does get the execute. Fear Beyond Death goes off. However, that's not going to result in a tremendous cascade of objectives here. But look, the sweeper alerts them. They see the vision of Alistar here. So another reaction from Null. He just backs right off and then gets the slowdown. They get the Alistar. They punish him. Maple, though, is in between.
Yeah, we're jumping straight to the mid lane as Big Core has already been blown up. Killer Instinct delivered Betty to the mid lane, but the kill was secured by Mujin once again. 100% 5-0. This mid lane was the focus earlier on and will continue to be hammered down as Noel flashes over the wall. He gets to safety, but here comes Zeros. Gonna get caught by those Infernal Chains. The tower will fall with a couple extra autos, and that's the knocker from the Decimating Smash. Pallets in the right position to use the Devour. It's not really the right target, and here comes the Weaver's Wall. It actually cuts off Flash Wolves from further engaging, but Flash Wolves plus 2,000 gold. And they managed to take the tower down after the fight in the jungle. Yeah,
there is a reward for them to take at Dragon for that team fight as well, but they're resetting, so maybe PVB can try and sneak in here. Doesn't look like it, though. They're all resetting. They don't have much vision, and they're just trying to push out their minion wave.
Now, this is, of course, Big Koro getting caught out here in the mid lane.
Yes. I was curious how that happened, because he did have the Tom Kent next to him, but with Maple just running straight up with the Righteous Glory, he's zoning out the Tom Kent, who doesn't want to get hit up in the knockup as well. And so there isn't really the opportunity for him to go in there without his flash to get out, to go and use the Devourer and save his AD carry there. So really good job again by Maple, who is a guy who has almost always impressed on the world stage, and he's doing it on a tank champion here, kind of creating plays for them.
Yeah, definitely stepping up, trying to make sure that Betty and Mujin can carry. But of course, because Flash Wolves recalled after that pick, Kobe, it gave PVB all the time in the world. They've secured the second dragon. It was uncontested. They're still only a fraction of the gold lead down. And we've seen that they can punish Flash Wolves. It was Sword Art being spotted by the sweeper, not finding the knockup, and that meant that Bongo Buffalo got their first kill. But Flash Wolves, it starts with Baron. With Kaisa, with Rageblade and Nashes, plus Scion, this will go down, but do they have enough time?
Yeah, Maple's very tanky here. A lot of armor. He can tank up the Baron damage. They go for the opportunity.
Oh my word! Absolutely blows up. No. But this means Flash Wolves, the Baron's going to reset, so they've peeled backwards. They've got themselves a kill, but here comes the unstoppable onslaught. Spits Koro over the wall. Chain of Corruption is available to him. That's going to start to spread. The focus for now is Hanabi on that Aatrox. He gets a knockup onto Big Koro. Flashes forward. Blows up the AD carry for Bongo Buffalo. Betty gets himself a kill onto Pallet. And Meliadis is going to get run down. Flash Wolves with the sweep.
And that is going to be Baron for Flash Wolves as well. 9 kills for themselves so far in this game. And this is going to be multiple objectives at once. Actually, they're leaving Hanabi to push the mid lane while they take down this Baron and claim their reward.
Oh, just a beautifully executed play from Flash Wolves again. Their play style, their team composition, it had a couple of hints and tips on how it was going to be played. And they pulled it off flawlessly. Betty instantly peeled with that killer instinct. The moment that Syndra was tagged with the plasma, just instantly in his face.
Yeah, Sword Art and Betty combining for that one. Mujin got a decent amount of damage in there too on Adelia, but like you said, there was not a lot of time. Hextech, Alistar right over the side, and then the engage here from Maple, using his stopwatch to buy some time, just to allow the rest of the team to get within striking distance. And then Hanabi pops the Aatrox ultimate. He's in there flashing in onto the enemy carry and securing not only the team fight, but also the objective afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. The team fight, the Baron, but there was quite a lot of damage actually put down, you know, onto Hanabi by Big Koro. And you have to feel that if PVB had found some team fights or found a way to initiate, albeit their comp doesn't really do great at that, maybe things could have gone a little differently. But now they're down 5,000 gold, they're down a Baron buff, and it just feels like Flash Wolves are sort of outclassing them this game.
Whenever you look down the items and you see a Soul Stealer this early in the game, Muujin on Talia, 10 pages for himself, then you gotta think it is a bad situation for the enemy team, because this is not one of those desperate upgrades here. This is a, yes, I'm super fed, I'm jungle carry this time around. Huge amounts of burst damage going to come out from the Talia, as we've already seen. And they've got the engage to back it up here. Sion trying to collapse on Tom Kenshin. They get the flash.
Yeah, they get the flash, they get the tower in the bottom lane. That's the 4th of the game so far, and Flash Wolves now knocking on the inhibitor turret's doors. There goes the unstoppable onslaught. Devour comes down, but Flash is already used. Here comes Sword Art with a flash of his own. Will find a stun with those changed. Big Koro doesn't get a single auto attack off. He's running for his life. Hanabi is swinging and then massing up the PVB roster. Inhibitor's fallen in the bottom lane, and for Flash Wolves, they look to be done. They're onto the Nexus turrets already. They killed the damage dealers for PVB. Nexus turret number 1 falls. Nexus turret number 2 falls. And the Flash Wolves are making a statement. Absolutely destroy Fonguba.
Number 1 seed from the LMS once again finds their victory here in very quick fashion.
Yep.
That last team fight with the layers of engage. Maple waits for the Devour, then channels his knock-up, then Sword Art flashes in with Alistar to be able to pull off the follow-up Pulverize, and it just looks so clean.
Of course, you have to talk about Fungu Buffalo a little bit. We talked at the beginning of sort of expectation setting for the VCS, and this team is representing the region. First game here on the World's group stage. I didn't see enough proactive play from them. I want to see how they bounce back and what they do going forward. But for Flash Wolves, statement win. You know, clearly showing they're stronger and better than PVB. And we need to see if they can do the same against other teams in the group.
Yeah. I mean, so many veterans on that team, so much experience. We got to see some vintage Sword Art, even with some early cheeky plays behind enemy lines.
The Hex Splash in lane while dancing. I mean, Sword Art was having a very fun time, but like I said, Flash